Well, good evening, friends. Thank you for giving us a little extra time before we got started. We had so many folks who wanted to be a part of this virtual session to try to get more information about the start of school tomorrow. I appreciate that little bit of extra time. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our virtual family engagement session. Before we get started, just a quick reminder, since we're using this webinar format, it's a little different in that we don't get a chance to see you, so you don't have to worry about your camera or your microphone, but I still want to hear from you. That's why the chat is so important. So make sure you're putting your questions in the chat. I see a lot of folks already sending their questions in. Our panelists are getting them. They'll be sending answers out to you. So make sure you're using that chat feature to send us your questions. I also see some folks have their hands raised. Don't worry about raising your hands. Again, you want to put your question in the chat. All the questions tonight, we're going to watch through the chat. So make sure your questions are in the chat. Don't worry about raising your hand. We do that so that we can see all the questions. We record all the questions. And if there are a lot of certain questions, then we know that we need to send out more information about that. So put all your questions in the chat. Well, again, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this second virtual family engagement session of the new school year. I'm Scott Varner. I am the Executive Director of Family Engagement here in Columbus City Schools. And we're here tonight to talk about what is an exciting time, the beginning of school. It's always an exciting time. It's also a time of a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of anxiousness, not just for our students, but also for our families, gosh, for everybody in our district. And I guess this year there's a little different anxiety, especially given the current contract situation that I know many of you are aware of. But tonight, we're going to put that politics and labor conversation aside. We really want to stay focused on supporting our families, giving you information about what these first few days of the school year are going to look like. We want to make sure that for as best possible, you are ready to go for tomorrow and for these first few days of the school year. Make no mistake, everybody on this call tonight during this session will tell you that we would much rather be celebrating tomorrow, the arrival of all of our students, clapping them in, getting them ready for a full day in their classrooms with their teachers. But that's not how we're going to begin. We're going to begin with online learning, and we want to make sure that you are ready. So tonight we're going to cover a lot of information on this session. We're going to try to answer the questions that you have coming in. I'm going to ask for your favor on a couple of things. And the first thing I always ask for help on is what we say, exercising a bit of grace. These are just the meeting norms we're going to try to stick to tonight. And it begins with giving everyone an opportunity to share their questions and opinions. That's why that chat is so important. Again, I see a lot of folks already sharing questions and information, and our chat team answering those questions as best possible. I'm going to ask for your help in trying to remain positive or at least constructive. Let's help try to make this a constructive conversation. As I said, we all know this is a stressful time, but we want to make sure that this conversation stays constructive and positive where possible. We'll acknowledge if we don't have an answer. You may ask a question that we just don't know the answers to. That's okay. We're going to try to get you answers, but if there's ever a question you don't get an answer to, please make sure to email us. The address is at the bottom of the screen. It's engage@columbus.k12.oh.us. That's the same email that you would have gotten tonight's link from. So just hit reply and send us your question. We're going to be considerate and respectful of your time. I appreciate you allowed us to start just a couple minutes late, and we're going to try to get everything done before 7 o'clock. And finally, that last point, so important, that we all remember that it's every one of us. We're all in this together, trying to make sure that we are supporting our families and supporting our students, that they have a successful start to the school year, even though it looks very different from what we had expected. Again, the reminder, the first day of school is tomorrow, August 24th, and we are so excited for the start of school. But I also want to remind you that it is online learning only. So we want to make sure, share with the friends that you know. You know it because you're on this session, but let's make sure everyone in our community understands that tomorrow's start of school is online early. Now, in a few minutes, I'm going to go through and talk about all of the different resources that are available for you online. We're going to hear an incredible presentation by our academic team to help walk through what those first few days look like. But I want to start with Dr. Talisa Dixon, our superintendent, who has been leading us through this time. And Dr. Dixon, as we said, this is an exciting time, but a little bit of anxiety, and we're here to support our families, right?
Yes, thank you, Scott. And thank you to all of our parents who have joined us tonight. I'd like to state again, this is an exciting time, the beginning of the year, to welcome our students, but I also acknowledge that this is not ideal. We want all of our students in the classroom. I recognize, and our team recognize, that is where they learn best, in the classroom with their teachers. Unfortunately, an online start to the school year is unavoidable at this point. You will receive a letter from me this evening that's going to state some additional information that you will receive tonight. So I'm asking, as Scott stated, that we focus on the resources that we have available for you. I understand that this is weighing heavily on you, as it is our teachers, our staff, our board, and our district leaders. Again, we want our students to be in the classroom with their teachers. Tonight, you're going to hear about the wonderful resources from our excellent team members, and the staff have been working overtime to make sure that you have all of these resources available for you as we move to online learning. Again, I do not take lightly that our students, that you trust your students to be educated in Columbus City Schools. And I recognize that this opening is not ideal. But we want our students to have a wonderful opening, to be excited about tomorrow, even though it is an online platform. So thank you. Thank you to Scott and the team. I will be here looking at the chat as well. We want to make sure we answer as many questions as possible, so that you can have all the information in a timely fashion that you need. So thank you to our parents and our guardians and all of those who support us as we support our students. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Dr. Dixon. And again, thank you for always reminding us that right now we are focused on supporting our families, making sure that you have answers, resources that you need, so that we can all get through what is a very unusual time, not something that any of us expected. I'm seeing a lot of questions coming in the chat, and I know that our chat team is trying to answer as they go along. Again, you'll notice that you're going to be seeing the answers to a lot of questions, not necessarily all of the questions, because we knew it would totally overload the chat if you were trying to kind of piece through everything. So we tried to make it easier for you. You're going to see answers to questions, and our team is also being mindful to put some of the question in the answer. So it's not just a yes that pops on the screen, but explaining what that's an answer to. So I appreciate everyone using the chat and sharing their information. As I said earlier, let me just quickly walk through some important information that's on our website now. I encourage you throughout this entire period to make sure you're going to our website and check out our Back to School Hub. We've put so much information on there, and we are constantly updating it to make sure you have the resources you need. So let me walk through just a couple of important pieces, and then we're going to get into talking about the alternative online learning plan that we have in place. So let's begin with a question that many of you have. What about my child's Chromebook? I've seen the questions come through. What do I do? Where do I go if my young person has a Chromebook that maybe doesn't work, or they're a new student, they still need a Chromebook? So starting tomorrow, we will have 25 locations across the district, 25 of our schools, where you can go to get Chromebook help. Those Chromebook help centers open at 9 a.m. and they'll go till 1 p.m. This is perfect for a newly enrolled student who doesn't have a Chromebook. Maybe your child's Chromebook doesn't work. There's something wrong with it. Maybe they need a full replacement. We're going to have our technology team available at each of these 25 sites. They'll try to Get into the Chromebook, see if it's something they can fix to get it right away, to make it work right away. If they need to, they will work to make replacements. And if you don't have one, they're going to work to try to get you one. We want to make sure our young people have the tools they need so they can participate in online learning. So again, those Chromebook Help Centers open at 9 a.m. tomorrow. So if you tried to go today or yesterday, they weren't open yet. They start tomorrow at 9 a.m. at these 25 locations that you see on the screen. This map is also on our website. So if you need to look at it again, you'll be able to look on the website. You can also always call the help desk, our technology help desk at 614-365-8425. They also have a chat feature. So try that also. If you have questions about logging in, about your Chromebook, about hotspots, try that help desk first, but you also have these 25 locations starting tomorrow. These 25 locations also serve as our grab-and-go food locations. So from 11 to 1 at these same places, again, from 11 to 1, families will have the option of a hot or cold meal. You get, for each student, lunch for that day and breakfast for the next day. These are take-home meals that you just kind of grab and go, not to eat there. Remember, this is for Columbus City School students only, our students. But you can visit any of the sites. So don't worry about going to your child's school or going to a school that's in maybe the feeder pattern or region. Go to the site that's closest to you. These are the 25 locations. These 25 locations will serve as both the food site and the technology help site. So for these next 3 days, make sure you're aware of where these sites are, which one is closest to you. You can go there if you need technology help, but you can also go there if you want to grab and go food for your young person. We also know that for many families, part of the struggle right now is, where can my young person go during the day? Perhaps they're not able to be at home. Perhaps as a parent, you need to work, or you maybe know about a parent who really can't be home, or their young person needs maybe a different environment for learning. We're fortunate to have so many great community partners in our area, including the City of Columbus and Columbus Recreation and Parks, who are opening student support centers. These are similar to our learning extension centers from a couple of years ago. These are safe, adult supervised locations where your student can drop in. They'll have easy access to the internet, but more importantly, they'll have someone kind of watching over them as an adult supervised safe location. There are 9 rec centers that the city is opening early. They're going to open them at 7 a.m. So even our high school students have a location they can go to where they can get online easy, have that adult supervised location. You can see on the screen the 9 locations that are opening early. All the other rec centers will be opening, I believe, at 9 or 10 o'clock, so they will be available too. But these are the 9 places that will be designated student support centers, thanks to our partners at Columbus Rec and Parks. Again, this information's on our website. Other partners who are supporting us are the YMCA of Central Ohio. They've set up 4 of their locations to be student support centers. You see those on the screen. In addition to the YMCA, we have the Boys and Girls Club of Central Ohio. They've designated 3 sites, the Jay Ashburn Center, the Milo Grogan Center, and the Southside Reeves Center, as locations where your young person can drop in, have that easy online technology access. There's, of course, our great friends at the Columbus Metropolitan Libraries. All of their branches now have these school help services, and you can go to the library. All of the branches open at 9 a.m., and they are ready to welcome our students. And for our students who 14 and up who may be experiencing homelessness, if you're aware of any of those students, send them to Star House. And we have all of this information, all the addresses and locations on our website. So student support centers, a safe adult supervised location where young people can drop in if they need that location to be able to get online for their daily attendance check-ins, to do some of that online learning. All right, another question. I know I continue to see a lot in the chat, especially our last session. There are a lot of questions about transportation. Bus stop information, pickup and drop-off times are coming to the parent portal. There were some technical challenges that we needed to make sure to work out before all that information got on there, but I am told it is coming. But a reminder, none of the Columbus City School routes will be running tomorrow. So I think the screen is wrong there. It says Wednesday through Thursday, Wednesday through Friday. So please make sure your young person doesn't go out to the bus stop. If maybe as you're driving to work and you see a Columbus City School student at the bus stop, remind them that school is online. So none of the Columbus City School routes will be running. There'll still be buses running, but those will be for maybe some of our charter or the non-public schools. Columbus City Schools will be online. So that's the latest from transportation, is making sure to let you know that it will be coming to the parent portal soon, but then also a reminder that you will not need that information for tomorrow. Hey, here's one last thing I want to make sure you're aware of. Our partners at the Franklin County Board of Commissioners and Franklin County Job and Family Services want to remind you about their Back to School initiative. This is for TANF eligible families. You are eligible for up to $750 in financial assistance to help with back to school. They had a portal online where you could go and sign up. I think they had a lot of people that signed up, so they had to shut it down. It has reopened. So make sure that you go on to the Franklin County Job and Family Services website. I've got this QR code on the screen that if you're quick, you can use your phone maybe to capture it. I'll try to put this up again at the end, but this is a great resource for our families. TANF eligible families only, but up to $750 to help for financial assistance to cover back to school costs. Remember, we've got all of this information on our website under our Back to School Hub, so make sure you are logging on. So many of the questions I see in the chat, it's still available on our website. We've also added a back to school news feed constantly. Each day, if there's something new that we add, we put some information on there. So check out the news feed. All right, friends, let's kind of focus in now on what brought us here together. And that's really thinking about the alternative online learning plan that our great academic team has put in place. They want to make sure, as you heard Dr. Dixon say, that we re-engage our students' minds. School starts tomorrow, so it is time to get those young minds active again. And it's so important that they devote that time to be there. Attendance is going to be so important. So I'm going to stop here and I'm going to introduce Kelly Rivers and our amazing academic team to share more about the online learning plan. Kelly?
Thank you, Scott. Good morning, CCS fam, or good afternoon and evening, CCS families. I would like to share information about our online learning plan that we're going to implement as the school starts on tomorrow. So I'm going to share my screen.
And we can see it, looks great.
Awesome. So here are our goals for tonight. I will cover what to expect during virtual learning, how to set up a positive virtual learning environment, and how you can access our district resources and our sample schedules. So tomorrow, on Wednesday, August the 24th, our buildings will be doing synchronous virtual welcome back and orientations conducted by our building administrators. They will cover the schedule, they'll cover virtual attendance procedures, climate and cultural expectations for their building. And then on Thursday and Friday, it's the expectation that our students engage in online learning asynchronously. And I'll go over what that looks like in just a moment. Let's see. So before we do that, I want to highlight, some important things in terms of what this virtual experience should look like. And first, we want to say when possible, because we know it's not always possible for all of our families in every circumstance. But when it is possible, establish a dedicated workspace. When possible, establish a learning routine for these next couple of days. Also, decide what materials are needed for our students and have those available during their online learning time. Establish rules and reasonable goals. We understand that this is a very big lift on our families and most importantly, a lift on our students right now. So you want to make sure that the goals are reasonable and achievable for your young person. Next, allow your student and yourself as a parent to have some grace. Take as many breaks as you need to or as often as necessary. We understand that both you and your student are doing their very best that they can during this time. And so your engagement is not only appreciated, but it's valued. This presentation, as Scott has done in the past with our family engagement opportunities, we'll send this presentation out to you. So there'll also be a link there that can help you with more details about establishing a positive virtual learning environment. So we're going to talk about the first 3 plans in a little bit more detail. We'll talk about the asynchronous learning resources. I'm going to do a little bit of a dive into the learning schedule. And I want to highlight that these plans are incorporated for all of our students, including our students from specialized populations, our students with disabilities, our English language learners, and our gifted students. All of these students are included in this plan. So the first 3 days of school, this just shows a schedule. This is an example of a secondary schedule. It shows that Monday and Tuesday were our prep days for our buildings. And then Wednesday is empty here in terms of the virtual learning expectation, because we're going to be doing attendance check-ins. Our principals are going to be establishing, the rules and whatnot for our virtual learning. And so it'd be, again, the expectation that our students engage in those virtual learning opportunities on Thursday and Friday. If you click here, and there is a space already on our district's website to show the resources in more detail. I won't go into them, but I will click on this link, and it is available online under that Back to School Hub that Scott mentioned earlier. And it goes into details. It also translated in 5 of our major languages, but it'll go into details about what to expect for students in pre-K through 1, students in grades 2 through 5, and our secondary students in grades 6 through 12. This is an example of our elementary schedule. And so again, just highlighting one more time that we are expecting our students to engage in our online learning on Thursday and Friday. Our building principals will send out information to their buildings about what their particular schedule might look like. But I'm going to cover just a brief example of what a potential schedule could look like. And this is, again, available online. So for instance, there's a link here for a virtual field trip. There's a link to allow a movement break. This is really, really critical for our students in elementary as they need to balance engaging online with also having those necessary breaks to stay motivated. The next part shows here HMH into reading, another student break, and then the asynchronous learning menu, which is the options that I showed you on the document that was posted. And then ending the morning with a get to know you activity. These are Google Slides activities, just as our students would engage in on the first day of school, talking about their favorite colors. So our staff gets to know our students. It's done in a Google Slide format. And so that is an example of that. And then our afternoon still shows the importance needing a recess break and time for our students to play and to engage in physical activity. This link shows mathematics in the home. So it's an activity that students can engage in terms of math. Again, balancing that with a student break. Going into iReady. iReady is our personalized pathway for our students. So we strongly encourage our students to engage in that in both reading and math for our students K through 8. And then asynchronous, the asynchronous learning menu. Students, we really want to give students choice and voice. And so it's an opportunity for students to pick any opportunity that they would want to engage in asynchronously. This next schedule shows what it would look like for our middle schools and our high school students. And so again, they're going to open it up with vocabulary roots. There's a Picklets activity. We still believe our students in grades 6 through 12 need a break. So we incorporated a student break there as well. Study Sync is one of our platforms that our students will use every day, even when they come back into the building. And so they can access that via Clever. This next section just shows, again, the students being able to pick an asynchronous option for them. There's a variety of options and choices. So we want to allow, again, student choice and voice in that. And then Achieve 3000, again, is one of those tools that we use and our students will continue to use when we return in person. Afternoon example of a schedule shows Apex, again, a student break, Alex Math, and then Khan Academy has some great online tutorials that we would love for our students to engage in. And finally, we would close with our asynchronous learning menu. So again, these are just examples of what the learning could look like for those 2 days. Our principals may tailor it and make it look a little bit different, but these example schedules will be available online for you to access in case you aren't able to access the ones that are available at your individual building. I'm going to now turn it over to Dr. Milligan, who will give you some specific examples about how schools are using their schedule.
Thanks, Kelly, and good evening, everyone. Some of you I may have had a chance to talk with last week, so thanks again for being here. And last week, I had shared that what Kelly shared, our principals are taking and tailoring to their student population. So I want to thank Principal Corbin at French Immersion, Principal Rodriguez at Mifflin, and Principal Campbell at Parkmore, because they shared with me their examples of what they're sending out to their families. So I'm going to share my screen, and if all goes well, it will actually show up. So Scott, do we see that?
We can see that.
Hey, it's working. All right, so this is from Principal Rodriguez. This is for Mifflin. This is what she has sent out to her families. You can see that there are links for check-ins. They are doing it by grade level. So all the students need to do is click on that link, the Zoom link, according to their grade. It'll take them to a Zoom room with staff that they're checking in attendance-wise. So they're checking attendance. They're doing SEL lessons. They're going to talk about orientation material, like their PBIS program, school rules, online rules, all that good stuff. And then if you come down here, this is how the punchers, this is the puncher way. This is how they're doing it. So at 9 o'clock, they're doing their check-in and SEL activities. Then they're doing asynchronous orientation on Wednesday, but you can see that there are activities for students to do. Many of these are tailored to their grade level. Again, this is a high school example. And then they move to Study Sync, vocabulary roots activities, and then they continue on with various activities such as the Smithsonian Institute Adventure on Friday. So that's at 11 o'clock. And again, keep in mind, these are suggestions. This is for the family that needs the structure, students that need the structure. So if your schedule looks a lot different and you need your students to do something differently at different times, that is A-okay. The most important piece, however, is that student check-in on Zoom synchronously, right? And that's right at the beginning. Some schools are putting it at different times, but you can see how there's different examples here for our Mifflin punchers, what to do in the afternoon. They have all these different specials or different electives, activities that they can do, and then social studies and science towards the end of the day. And again, these are live links. So the student just needs to click on the link and it will take them to the activity. Now, here is one from, this is our Parkmore Panthers. So again, shout out to Principal Campbell at Parkmore for sharing this. And this is how they have chosen to do it. So at 8:30, there'll be parent and student questions, and then they move on to storyline, grade level attendance. So they're doing attendance at 9 o'clock. So there'll be a link for them to click on to join that attendance meeting. And as you can see, K through 5, there's iReady here, a brain break, and we got science and art, and then no screen time zone from 12 to 1. So that's giving the eyeballs a break. And then continue on in the afternoon with the different activities. So that again is Parkmore. And then we have Ms. Corbin at Equal Kenwood, and she has shared hers. So this is, she put hers out on s'mores. So that's how she communicates with her families. And here, what to expect starting on Wednesday, and then daily check-ins. So she put just kind of a general, here's her check-in. So they just click there depending on your grade, and it'll take you right to the Zoom. And then her suggestion for our families is to go to what Kelly just shared, and you can open this up on our district website, and they have all these different resources. And like Kelly said, showing different grade levels and what's appropriate for different grade levels. And you can just kind of click around and see what works best for you at a time that works best for you. However, because it is French immersion, we of course need French lessons. And so she provided for our families these French activities. Again, because it's online asynchronous, the kids can click on the links and do the lessons on their own. So again, thank you. Huge shout out to our principals of those 3 schools for sharing. And hopefully that gave you some concrete examples. Again, you should have heard from your school and whichever way they tend to communicate with you. So if you haven't, please reach out to them to make sure that you have that information. And I appreciate the opportunity to share this information. Have a great evening. Scott.
Thank you both. Now I'm going to have a couple questions for each of you, because I see a lot in the chat, including I'm going to ask for someone on the team to clarify about pre-K and kindergarten here in just a second. So whomever on the team can answer that question. But again, Dr. Milliken, what I really appreciated, you showed us examples from different schools. So I think what I heard you say is, parents, you need to make sure you're checking your email, listening for maybe that phone call that's going to come from the principal. Maybe check out the school's website, because information about where to log on is being sent to families. It should have already been sent to them, or maybe in the process of being sent, correct?
That's correct. And so the number one tool that we tend to use is Infinite Campus, and that goes directly to students' emails. We know with our younger kids, it's a little more challenging. And so there's a variety of other ways in Infinite Campus and the parent portal. Hopefully everybody's updated their email address and their phone numbers, because it'll go to whatever email address you put there. Like I said, some people do S'mores, some people use Remind. There's all different types of communication platforms. So however you're used to communicating with your child's school is the way that information will come to you.
And perhaps if maybe, again, you haven't checked parent portal in a while, maybe updated, you put in an email address you don't check, go to the school website, see if the information's on the school website. Am I remembering correctly that on most of our school websites, there is the principal's email address? So you could email the principal and ask, what are the Zoom links or important links for start of school for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, correct?
Absolutely. Yep. And most they're readily accessible. The principal's name is there. If you're not familiar with the principal's name, and the email address will be right there as well.
And again, each school is going to have a different schedule, a different time, but what's going to be most important, friends, is making sure you look for that time when students definitely need to be seated in front of their computer, on their camera, using their Columbus City Schools login to make sure that they are logging into Zoom at the right time. Am I correct?
That's correct. Yeah, that's the only synchronous time. And remember, synchronous means you are talking to a real person. You are having conversation. They're going to be talking about how the students are doing, answering questions, doing SEL activities, sharing information about the school if they're new to the school, rules and routines. So they'll have a chance to answer all of those questions first thing in the morning, or in some cases, some schools have put it later on in the day because our students like to sleep in sometimes. So, but I do want to emphasize, as a parent, you know your child best, you know how they learn. Obviously, we all want them in the schools, but right now we are on an online asynchronous learning platform. And so if you need to make modifications, if you need to shift the schedule, if you need to change the schedule around, what principals are putting out is a recommended schedule for students for certain grades. So keep that in mind. We understand this is a challenging time for everybody. And so understand that we definitely are showing grace. We hope you show us grace, and we will troubleshoot and problem solve and support with the best of our ability.
Perfect. And friends, in a minute, we're going to talk about attendance. I know there are a lot of attendance questions in the chat, but again, to the academic team, just wondering if somebody could clarify again about pre-kindergarten, pre-K students and kindergarten students.
Yes, I can. Pre-K does not begin until September 8th, with the exception of Woodcrest Elementary. They are already in school. Kindergarten students will begin tomorrow with everyone else. They will have their staggered start time for testing after we return to in-person learning.
Perfect. Thank you for that information. Again, friends, as you heard, kindergarten students, you do start tomorrow. So make sure, parents, that you are helping those youngest students get online when they need to be online. Again, look for that information coming from your child's school. All right, friends, I know that there are a lot of questions. We talked through the alternative online learning plan, and I just really appreciate the academic team devoting a lot of time quickly to putting together the learning plan. But I want to talk about the importance of daily attendance. I saw a lot of questions in the chat that maybe some parents are choosing maybe not to have their young person log on. Again, as you heard Dr. Dixon say, putting the politics, the conversations about contracts aside, it is so important this time of year that we begin to re-engage our young people's minds. We've all heard of the summer slide. We can't have that slide anymore. It's time to get young people back to school. And if it can't be in person, it's going to be online. And we really want to talk through the importance of daily attendance. I've asked Tyree Pollard, who is our director of attendance, as well as Dr. Michelle Klein, who's the chief over student services, to really take a moment to remind us about the importance of daily attendance, how it's going to be measured, and why it's so important you have that young person online. Mr. Pollard?
Awesome. Thank you, Scott. Let me share my screen real fast to make it easier. Are we good to go?
We can see it. Yep.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you all parents this evening for joining us. Just want to go over and talk about the importance of attendance, why we want our young people in school, or why it's so critical for us to be here. Even though it is online, it's the best situation that we have. We missed a lot of learning before, but we really want to lock in these next 3 days, really make sure that our kids are learning at the best way possible. So why attendance matters? So in order for students at Columbus City Schools to learn and achieve to their fullest potential, it is critical, I mean critical, that they attend school and are engaged in the learning process. Student success starts with attendance and engaged learning, whether that's in person or asynchronous. We know this is not ideal. We get that, but critical for them to be back in school, to kind of get their minds back going and getting back into the rhythm and pace of learning again, because we know attendance is the first step for our student success. So a little couple commercials. As we're talking about attendance and what it means, so I want to break down chronic absenteeism. So chronic absenteeism is when a kid misses school for any reason, families, any reason at all. That's unexcused, that's excused, that's suspensions, that's coming in late, that's leaving early. All that is baked into chronic absenteeism. And we use that metric because we know with chronic absenteeism, there's a direct correlation. I mean, a direct correlation to student achievement. We know that when students are not attending like they're supposed to and they're chronically absent, the likelihood of them graduating drops significantly. It just drops. It drops people. You know, the likelihood of them passing their third grade reading guarantee drops. So it's important that all our students are coming to school as much as possible, every day, on time. It's critical. It's really critical, especially during these first 3 days of learning. We need to hit the ground running and get our pace back going, our rhythm going. So I'll be remiss if I didn't go over Ohio's revised code 3321.191 overview, also known as House Bill 410. I just really wanted to go over some critical components of this to let families know that in case that you decide to not bring your kids to school, to attend school online, which I know they will attend, but just in case, we are still mandated by the federal law for kids to come to school every day. So if we're offering school, the state expects kids to come to school every day. I just went over chronic absenteeism and what that means as far as the 10% miss school for any reason. The other metric for that's going to be habitual truancy. And that's kids missing 30 hours in a week, 42 hours in a month, or 72 hours within a year without an excuse. That's without an excuse. And as I go to excessive absences, that's when kids miss 38 hours with or without an excuse in a month, or 65 without or with a legitimate excuse. So I just really wanted to go over that to make sure that families know that, hey, we have school open and we expect our kids to come, and the state expect our kids to come to school every day. But I know that won't be a problem with our Columbus City school families. They're going to be sending our kids to school starting tomorrow. We're excited to have them. So when it comes to the asynchronous attendance procedures, just want to go over the process of what's going to look like for you and your family and your students. So the buildings will send out a designated time via Infinite Campus. It could be Blackboard, it could be S'mores, it could be Class Dojo. So make sure, like Scott was saying, you're checking your emails, you're answering that number when it shows up, that's 614-365, that's us calling with important information. So please answer your phone when you get that call. But attendance will be checked in daily, synchronous at that time. So, and that time will vary by buildings. So it could be from 9 to 9:30. It could be in the high school for every hour, for every grade level. So please make sure that you're contacting your buildings and making sure that you have that information. Please, please, please make sure that when kids are logging in to the Zoom, they're using their CCS credentials. That is critical. Students must use their CCS credentials to log into the Zooms to make sure that it's captured so we're getting their attendance at all times. Once again, buildings will send out either a Blackboard message, IC Messenger, S'more, email, text, Class Dojo, to let families know how they log in. And when kids are not coming to school, our building staff will be contacting families and reaching out, kind of want to know why your kid's not coming to school, and making sure that it's nothing technical as far as computers or login information. We'll be reaching out daily to making sure that our families have what they need to be successful during this time. Lastly, let's get into some learning tips that can help you at home during this time. Number one, establish some routines and expectations. Normal bedtime. I know it's been the summer all along. Kids been staying up late. Let's get back to those routines as far as establishing the bedtime, how to wake up, when to wake up, getting some good breakfast, and having expectations for learning for the day. Number two, please find a good place to learn. Normally, families would use a spot for your homework, but kids are going to be sitting down for a certain period of time. Let's find a nice, quiet place where students have some headphones, they have their laptops or the Chromebooks, and they can really have that environment to learn. I think that's going to be critical for our babies to be successful. Number three, stay in touch. Stay in touch with your building principals. Stay in touch with the school. Check your parent portal. Check your Infinite Campus. Answer that phone call. That 365 number is us calling with important information. So please stay in touch. Stay in touch at all times, and please reach out if you need any help at all. Number four, help students own their learning. I repeat, help students earn their learning. We know that you're not educators. We don't expect you to be educators. So when you see your kid having that productive struggle, check in on them, ask them how's it going, offer some support. But students would have to earn their learning and get back into the rhythm again of being in school. So help students earn their learning a little bit. And number five, I think one of the most important ones, begin and end every day with a check-in. Ask your kids question. Hey, what classes do you have today? What tasks are you going to be completing? Do you have any assessments? Constantly checking in and checking out what's going on with your kids is going to be critical. At the end of the day, how does your classes go? Did you need any help with anything? Did anything trip you up? Do you need more supports? That constant communication with your kid during this time is going to be tremendous as we move forward during this time. So for more resources about asynchronous learning, please check our website out. You can also go to our attendance page. Like I said, it's not ideal, but we're here for our parents, and we're excited to get kids back tomorrow. I'll pass it back to you, Scott. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Dr. Klein, I know you have been kind of monitoring the chat, a lot of questions related to attendance. Anything you want to share just as you're kind of seeing the chat?
Thank you so much, Scott. I would just like to add that we're excited to invite all of our students back to school. I know it's not the most ideal situation, but we have a lot of interesting things planned for them and adventures that they can take. In addition, I want to encourage all of the parents out there to make sure their student knows their student ID and their passcode. Remember, their student ID is their student number, and then their passcode is their birthday. It is very important when they put in their password that they use their birthday in the format of XX-XX- and then the full year. So an example would be 01-01-2010. That would be an example. Sometimes we forget those over the summer, and we just want to make sure everyone remembers those. If for any reason your child doesn't remember their ID and you don't know it either and you can't access Parent Portal, give us a call or email parentportal@columbus.k12.oh.us, and I have put that in the chat. All you need is a picture ID, and we'll make sure you get the information as soon as possible. Thanks so much, Scott. We look forward to seeing our kids tomorrow.
And Dr. Klein, just two quick questions. As you were sharing about a student's ID, their login information, sometimes that might come up on the screen as saying like you need your CCS credentials, correct?
That is accurate. Those are your CCS credentials, your student ID number, and then your date of birth.
Perfect. I saw someone ask about credentials. And again, that's your student's ID and login information. And for our families,
Scott, please don't let any parent be embarrassed if they forgot them. It's no problem. We will look them up very quickly and get back to you. The reason we need a parent picture ID is to verify who you are, because we don't want to give someone's credentials out to the wrong person.
And then again,
student ID never changes. The question.
And then just real quick for our parents who maybe remember how we used to do it a couple years back, attendance is not in the parent portal. Attendance is going to be taken when your young person logs into that Zoom time at the right time as the school prescribes, correct?
Correct. And let's say, for instance, Scott, that something happens and your Chromebook doesn't work, or your electricity goes out, or your hotspot dies, or whatever. Please know that it is okay to call the school attendance line or the school main line and leave a message. And then the principal or secretary will get back to you with instructions. That is not a problem. That would be an absence that we would count as a technological failure. And those are allowed under our ODE guidelines, because every once in a while, I lose electricity too.
Perfect. Thank you, Dr. Klein. Thank you, Mr. Pollard, for sharing that information. All right, friends, I know we've shared so much with you. In just a minute, we're going to ask our superintendent, Dr. Dixon, to give us some closing thoughts. But let me just kind of try to cover everything again real quick, some of the highlights. So what's most important for our families to know about for the start of school tomorrow? School starts tomorrow. It is not the way we had hoped. It's not what we looked like. I think I saw, Kim, you put a message in there that we really wish that our students were with our teachers. We agree. Somebody asked, when will we get to back in person? We don't know, but that was the importance of tonight, to make sure that in this area where we still don't maybe have those answers as to when we'll be able to get back together all in person, we take time to give you, our families, as much information as possible, so that you have it, that you can share it with other parents and families that you know, so we can all have a successful start to the school year. So much information is online, including information about our Chromebook. So if you need a Chromebook, if yours is broken, your young person maybe lost it, or maybe they're new to the district and need one, we have 25 locations that will open up tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. The map is online. That's where you can go for technology help. You'll see it on the homepage of our website. There's a big screen there that says Chromebooks. Click that little link that says Chromebook distribution so you can find that map, know where to go. If maybe your young person needs access to food, or you know a family that maybe would benefit from the food available tomorrow, you can go to our meal sites. Again, it's the same 25 locations. Food is available from 11 to 1. I know somebody asked if we could extend or change those hours. Unfortunately, it's limited to 11 to 1 because we will have both hot meals and cold meals available. Real quick, there were a couple of questions about maybe iReady. Maybe you tried to get a jump in there early and it wasn't ready today. I'm told that iReady is ready, so it will be ready to go tomorrow morning. And again, just a reminder that each of your child's principal at each school is sending out information. You might also get information from some of our instructional assistants. Those are members of our team. They're not part of the same union as our teachers. Those instructional assistants are working to, again, help make sure that parents have information so that you're able to help your young person log on. And finally, if your young person needs another location by which to access the internet, maybe you just need some assistance, someplace where they can be that's safe, adult supervised, check out the student support centers. Again, a big link on our website. These are our great partners at Columbus Rec and Parks, the Columbus Metropolitan Libraries, the Boys and Girls Club, the YMCA, opening their spaces, opening them early to make sure that your young person has a safe space to go if they can't be at home tomorrow. Dr. Dixon, there's been so much information shared. We've got it all on the website, but we know so many of our families still a little anxious about what tomorrow will be like. I know we're all a little anxious about what tomorrow will be like, but as you've said, we want to make sure our families have answers and resources, right?
Yes, thank you so much. And I've been watching the chat questions as well, and just wanted to make sure that we provide as many answers as possible. And if we need to update our websites to put some more of those questions in there, we will do that as well. One of the things I saw over and over is that people were saying that they needed to purchase a new Chromebook. We are not charging families. You do not have to buy a Chromebook as a resource for your students' learning. So again, check in with if you're new to the school district, you go to one of the meal sites tomorrow to pick up your Chromebook. If you go to open enrollment, as you're enrolling in school tomorrow, you would pick up your Chromebook there. But we do not charge our families for their Chromebook. And also for your charger. So please reach out to your schools and your school principals for those resources. Again, Columbus City Schools does not charge our families for their Chromebooks. Also, there are a lot of questions about how long will we continue online learning? And thank you again, Scott, for lifting that. We don't know, but we are working every day to resolve the concerns with the contract so that we can get teachers back in the classroom with their students. That's the ultimate goal, to have our teachers in the classroom where their students, as I stated earlier, that is ideal. That's the ideal environment for our students. But until then, we will begin with online learning. And then lastly, I want to give another thank you to our partners. It feels like when we were in a pandemic a couple of years ago, our partners came together and wrapped their arms around our school community and our families. And we're doing that again. So thank you to our partners from the City of Columbus, our rec centers, I Know I Can, City Year, the various partners who have stepped up and said we are going to provide places for our students while their families have to go to work. We recognize that our families have to work, but we want to make sure that there are some safe places for our students, and our partners are providing those. So thank you again to all of our partners who are providing these opportunities for our students to learn independently tomorrow. So again, thank you. Families, we will continue to keep you updated. We have a session on this Thursday. I will continue with written communication as we are updated with information. I want to make sure you're updated as soon as possible so that you have the most relevant information regarding returning back to school in person. Again, thank you so much for joining us, and I turn it back to you, Scott.
Thank you, Dr. Dixon. Again, I keep seeing the questions in the chat. What time does school start tomorrow, friends? Make sure you are checking your email, checking your child's, the school website, maybe kind of listening for maybe a phone call that might come from the school. That information may have already been sent. It's coming, if it hasn't come already, to make sure that you have the time that your young person needs to log on. That's when the start of school will be. And for many, it will be probably right around 9 a.m. So make sure that you are checking so that you have that Zoom link that your young person can start the school year right here on camera. As Dr. Dixon said, it's not ideal, but it's time to get our young people and their minds engaged again. And we want to make sure, families, that you have the information you need. All right, real quick, some of you asked again for the information about the Back to School initiative. Hopefully you've tried to go online. Again, I'm told that that website, if it's not open now, will be reopening soon, so keep going back. They had some technical issues, but this will be available to our families. So check out the Franklin County Job and Family Services, their Back to School initiative. Friends, we will keep you posted. Dr. Dixon has been great about sharing information. Our website has so much because we want you to be ready to go. And I'm going to make sure that everybody who had information for tonight's session gets information about our next session on Thursday. Thank you for being part of this virtual family engagement session. We're excited for the start of school tomorrow, and we're going to work to make sure that we all get through it together. Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening.